How's it going, everybody? This is Physical Education with Coach. I am Coach Cullen Carroll, and we're going to continue our testing series. Today we're going to visit abdominal strength endurance. Okay, so as you could have noticed, most of these tests focus on either strength, flexibility, or endurance. And one other good thing to note is that it's beneficial for you to have all three. Like I mentioned earlier in some of the other videos, some of the tests I don't fully buy into, but that doesn't mean they're not important, right? My opinion is just the opinion of one PE teacher. And most of that opinion is biased because I love strength. I absolutely love strength and power. So when it comes to endurance and flexibility tests, I typically don't prefer them because it's not my bias. So we have another one of those tests today, the curl up. Now, if I were to be a good scientist right now, I would tell you the curl up is actually one of the #1 recommended exercises for abdominal strength, coming to you from a guy up in Canada that does a ton of research on the spine, the biomechanics of that certain area of the body, and how a lot of workouts could negatively affect you or negatively impact you. He actually recommends a form of the curl up. So we're going to go ahead and take advantage of that recommendation, and we're going to try to strengthen our abdominals throughout the year. But before we get to that, we're going to perform a small endurance test or strength endurance to see where we're at. All right, so as I mentioned, we're talking about the curl up. You're going to need a couple things for this test. Obviously your body. You can keep your cap and your shoes on again, but you're going to need that tape, and you're going to need that tape measure again. Now, it would be best if you had another person to help you out with this, just so your measurements, again, wouldn't be biased when you're setting up the test. What you're looking at over there is a set of tape measures that are 4.5 inches apart. Now, that's what it requires for anybody pretty much over the age of 9 until you become an old fellow, and I'm talking like twice the age of myself. Then that number actually starts creeping down again to give you a little bit of an advantage, because our bodies start to dwindle a little bit as we get older. So once again, 4.5 inches is the distance between the tape. And as you could imagine, when you're doing the curl up exercise, when you're laying on your back with your knees at about 90 degrees, feet flat on the ground, you're going to put your fingers on that first line, and one curl up will be executed by moving your fingers from one line to the next line. Now, I know that sounds difficult because most of the time I'm really guilty of this. What we've been doing is just full on sit-ups. But I'm trying to follow the rules this year, trying to follow the guidelines and make sure we do this the correct way, especially for y'all at home that are trying to learn some of the benefits of this curl up exercise. And you may, in fact, have back problems that the sit-ups could be negatively impacting. So let's go ahead and lay on down over there, and I'm going to give you an example of what this looks like. So like I said, you're flat on your back. Your head should be in line with your spine. It doesn't have to be all the way against the ground, but it shouldn't be flexed up like so. And we can already notice that I'm a little bit off, so I'm going to move back so that my fingers are on that line and my knees are about 90. Now when I go to curl up, here's the first place where we can recognize an error. I shouldn't be doing this with my neck in order to move my arms. Okay, I need to move the top half of my upper body. I need to slide it up, and I need to touch that line. Slide it up, touch that other line. Okay? That is how you execute the curl up. Like I said, extending the neck, flexing the neck or pushing the chin forward is not going to get you a rep. That will be considered an error, and that'll be your first strike. The second way to get an error is to not push your hands all the way to that second line. Like I said, that curl up depends on you being able to make your hands travel all 4.5 inches and touch the other line. Now there is actually a third and a fourth way to get an error here. Let's say, for example, you don't return your hand all the way back to the line and you don't return your back to the ground. That would be a no rep if you didn't go back to the ground and then continued with another rep. It would just be a strike. And then the fourth way that you can have an error, obviously, is if your feet come off the ground. Okay? One of the things I like to recommend for this test, along with having somebody measure your repetitions for you, is I don't mind if you have a counterbalance weight on your feet or you have somebody standing on your feet for you. I think that's perfectly okay and manageable to have in executing this test. Also, if you have that person standing on your feet there, you'll notice they'll have the perfect view of your hands, and they'll be able to give you some coaching, some encouragement, or they'll be able to stop you from too many errors if you cannot further execute the proper range of motion for the test. Once again, this was the curl up test for abdominal strength / endurance. And I will see you guys for the final video and the final assessment for PE1, PE2, and physical education with coach.